Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Chaos-Reighn here. Once again, I am here to show you another ice shot build, but this one is on a budget. Now, how much of a budget? Well, for today, we're going to be pretending like we can't afford 2 6-links and we're league starting. So, I have a few gyms here. I actually have to, there we go, I have to put that in. So we are going to be pretending we have 2 5-links, a 5-link Hero's Ire, and a 5-link Death Opus. Now, the 28 quality doesn't add too much damage, so don't really calculate that. We also are going to be pretending we have 2 Taming Rings in the early game, which, in my experience, I've been able to get them really cheap, really easy, really fast, so I don't think that should be a big deal. Our Void Fletcher has damage per chain. It's lost the Pierce, but we're not using Barrage, and that's not the real DPS here. All you really care about is the Void Fletcher itself, adding the flat cold. Alternatively, you can use a Hero's Demise for the flat added cold, regardless of how much it is. Our boots, we're just using standard windscreens. We don't have our boots fully socketed, we just have Dash and Second Wind without any alternate qualities. And our gloves is just Hatred Herald of Ice with lower quality. And we are granted level 22 precision, and precision reduces less mana. Again, this is going to be a more budget friendly. I can tell you how the upgrades are going to be and what they're going to cost as we go. So, obviously, there is the Hero's Ire. The Hero's Ire, you can ignore the colors. These are all easily changeable. As far as the the defense modifiers, that's irrelevant. We don't have any gear to really supplement it. Our tree, we have the bare basic tree. Now this is my own personal setup. I did this in one league and I just kept the tree this way since after I dropped standard. Instead of going down, I go up, and I tend to take these nodes here. I go up and around, taking the life here, the crit multi, the int here, crit chance, the damage, and as you can see here, I am kind of set up to start with my Inspire learnings, right? Because I don't have this node spec yet, but I do have the reses here to help me get some reses. I have the life, pathing through the life, getting the frenzy charge. My Watcher's Eye is your bare basic base crit Watcher's Eye. That's probably going to be the most expensive part of this build as of now. And I have a 8 passive cluster, but I am not taking these nodes to represent that I am on a budget and I can't afford to take these nodes, or I can't afford a 3 notable. I do have some crit clusters. These crit clusters are usually easily rollable within about 10 to 20 chaos. With Harvest, you can just hit it with a random reforge until you get 2 mods, doesn't really matter. If you do reforge fire, you'll just reforge it until it gets fire res over and over and over again. We take the dodge nodes because we don't like to be hit. We have res here, crit multi, a little bit of this is just literally a damage with bows, mana leech, so on and so forth node. We have the frenzy, like I said before, this is preparing for our next Inspire learning right here. This is what we would take. I'm taking this for strength. I literally cannot wear a piece of my gear if I take that off. So that's for strength. We are taking all 4 of these. Later on we will unspec them, and to min-max out we will spec other things. We are taking cold pin here, going down to here, taking a little bit more cold pin here, taking point blank, and then we have a 5 passive voices. However, for the representation, we're just going to say this is a 8 passive cold cluster. You don't need 2 8 passive cold clusters. I just have 2 or whatever. It's just there, and then I have another, crit cluster here, just so I can kind of round out my crit, getting my crit chance up. So with my 2 ice shot setups, we have 66% crit, 381 multi, and 66% crit, 381 multi. Our flasks are pretty simple, the Dying Sun being the most expensive of them. Then we go to a quartz for dodge. We have a movement speed flask, Alchemist Quicksilver of Adrenaline, and a diamond flask with just random rolls, and then of course the no bleed flask. All of these are really easy to acquire. Our gloves are fill-in gloves. I only put these here because it's just because they're there. These actually kind of suck though, because if I crit, I don't inherently, do non-damaging elements. However, because Ice Shot is Ice Shot, with its ability and the ability of these gloves, things are just always chilled and frozen with these gloves. They don't really give you much damage, but they're there. And without further ado, let's... and the last thing is the Harbinger Belt. Now, the Harbinger Belt might be a little bit of a challenge this league because it is a little harder to get, but once you get it, this is going to be a very, very useful belt. However, instead of this, you can use any belt. For example, you can use a Redeemer belt with a little bit of cold damage, some reses, stuff like that, to cap your reses instead of using, these boots. Or, use more damage rings instead of these, etc., etc. Now, let's pull out some currency, and I'm going to roll some maps. How about that? Alright. Make sure I don't have anything too gnarly. Well, basically no LA Reflect, because this is Ice Shot. Alright. Now my links, before I forget. My links are Added Cold here, Inspiration, Ice Shot, Elemental Damage with Attacks, and Cold Penetration. Then we have Sniper's Mark in our helm, Hydrosphere in our helm, Frostbite in our helm, and Ice Bite support in our helm. This is our generation of Frenzy Charges, and basically it's how we generate Frenzy Charges on the go without Blood Rage. You can run Blood Rage in the helm instead. It gives you more attack speed, etc., etc. But because we are a budget build, we don't want to invest a lot in life, and just this way we don't kill ourselves. Our links for our single target, Barrage Support, Inspiration, Ice Shot, Elemental Damage with Attack, and Added Cold. We have Dash Second Wind like we said. Alright, let's try it. I keep getting offers, so let me see here. Unusual gems for 20C, all yours. Unusual gems for 20C, all yours. Now this is, again, assuming you have 2 5 links and all of your budget isn't going into fusing your gear or anything like that. It's going into, linking your gear or anything like that. Instead, it's going into something along the lines of the big buys. The big buys here are the Watcher's Eye, as you saw. There you go. Let's just go ahead and clear these out. The Watcher's Eye, as you saw. And
no one will be able to tell you what you're done, Ashley.
So as you saw, I still have respectable damage.
The Syndicate was in dire need of a shake-up anyway.
So as you see, my attack speed isn't very good. I don't have a lot of attack speed, and that's including with a Harbinger belt. So Blood Rage is really, really strong here. It helps you out a lot. Oh, I am stuck. Another thing, your Hydrosphere has collision, so be careful with Hydrosphere. In corners like that, you can get stuck, and it's gotten me killed before. Alright. So, let's just quick, run this map. Finding the boss room on this map can be a hassle. This is Awakener 8, by the way. I am having no issues with rares or anything like that using a simple 5 link. My armor is a Huri's, so it gives me a lot of flat cold. As you can see, I'm not really generating a lot of frenzy charges here. The helm's just kind of for show, for that matter. So let's see. Alright, for 5 link, that's not too bad a damage. It's not too great either. There's a lot to be, you know, said about missing out on damage. However, I am not, I don't have any sort of, what do you call it, cursing going on aside from my sniper's mark. And my other curse is literally only, you know, to mobs and maps. You can change this with my min-max setup, which I have posted in my last video. But for now, I'm just going to showcase these real quick maps, just to kind of, so you get a heads up of what you're going to look for. So let's see, this one seems pretty tough, let's do it. Oh, that's interesting. Cool. As you get your gear rounded up, as you get more DPS and you're able to get your gear in check, you can start switching out your boots. Now your boots, because you know, because this build has a huge roof and pricing, and you can get crazy boots. Tailwind elusives are probably some of your favorite boots you can get. But you already have Tailwind, so maybe like elusives with something else on them.
I serve a new god now, Exile.
Right,
How is this possible?
Alright, so we have killed both of these guys.
Death is simply the you've made you.
Alright.
For now.
As you see, I don't have bad damage. I'm able to do bosses at a relatively decent pace. I am getting lost and stuck and rubber banded, but this is the life. Oh, and it. Excuse me. Alright, let's put our auras back on, and because we already have the taunt for that map and we did Syndicate, we're just going to go into the next map. I mainly want to show you the damage test against Drox. Now, just so I can show you the difference in DPS overall and everything like that, I'm going to take out Ice Bite here, and I'm going to put Blood Rage instead. And Blood Rage is going to generate frenzy charges wherever we're at. Excuse me. Now, I don't know for sure how much the Asenath chant's going to be. I'm gonna guess it's gonna be a couple of X to maybe even only 1X.
Wait! Another deal. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Do what you want to do, lady. Alright. And if it is only 1 to 2X, then I do recommend getting it, and that's because you have 4 spells you can cast. Even on my Mirror Ice Shot build, I couldn't find a better setup than using that, because it auto casts your sniper's mark for you on your target, whoever you're shooting at, and when you're doing things like far shot and stuff like that, your sniper's mark's applied to them, and then they take the multiplier from far shot on top of the multiplier from sniper's mark. Now, ideally speaking, you'd want your setup to be a little bit different as far as your single target and everything like that. But I can make a a non-budget but non-mirror tier guide if it's requested, or if anyone wants to know like what the in-between, what to look for, so on and so forth would be. It's not really a big deal. I have the gear set aside and I can put it all together. See, as you saw, that was a relatively good mapping. We are, again, I'm going to remind you, I am on Awakener 8. Gotta be careful here. So it looks like I have already bursted down both of these guys. Now he's come back. There we go. And he's dead. Alright. So we are gonna kind of check out one more time to remind you. This was a tier 14, like a red tier map, high red tiers. We are on Awakener 8. I'm only using a 5 link single target, and I'm not using anything crazy in any of these slots, and I don't have any crazy gear here. The most expensive piece of gear so far is probably just single-handedly maybe the Torrents, but the Torrents is not necessary. You can actually do this damage and respectably more with a influenced Redeemer Stygian, or even just a Redeemer leather belt with a lot of life on it, something like that. And you can still do the same amount of damage on a 5 link and way more on a 6 link. So a lot of this has to do with the way that our kit interacts with Hydrosphere. I only use a level 11, but basically what excuse me, what happens is if we go here, currently we have increased effective sniper's mark, etc, etc. So our sniper's mark is basically a super sniper's mark. We have no projectile spread and 60% more damage for enemies that are farther away, and then we have 2 additional projectiles always. So we take that with our 2 additional here, and then every single one of our barrage hits is shooting for 7 arrows and 60% more, plus, what is this? A total, another 39% more right there. And then we have Blood Rage to take into account, and then Frostbite's being auto-cast as well. Oh, I am applying Frostbite, I'm sorry. And then basically all these skills are just being applied automatically to every single enemy I'm shooting. And that's why we have the extra curse boots, so we can do that. We don't have anything anointed here because we want to kind of mimic being on a budget and kind of slapping something together. So I have 0 chain. However, one thing to note is that there is a certain way that Hydrosphere works. If you ever manage to get 1 chain, 1 pierce, anything like that later in the kit, which is very, very easy to do, especially you know, being eye shot, you can basically hit the enemy once. It'll chain to your Hydrosphere. It'll hit the Hydrosphere, causing it to pulse, and then explode again on the Hydrosphere, causing you to do 2 to 3 times the damage per shot on your eye shot. Now, let's see if I can't... I do have a very expensive Void Fletcher to kind of show you a difference in when you're hitting fully with Hydrosphere. Let me see. Here we go. So let's just put that on. Go back to Gardens, put it in. We have 1 more map till Drox, then we can get to the real test. So now we chain with our regular chain. We chain, I think, 2 or 3 times. Then our skills chain 1 more time via our eye shot, or via our quiver, I mean.
My mana is gone.
Gonna come in here real quick and take care of this. Now, one of the reasons why I am doing this is because, one, I'm running a lot of Syndicate in the Standard to kind of get my gear, you know, 30 quality, etc., etc. However, there is something to note, is that when,
Why does it wear its skin?
Yes.
one of the
Finally,
things,
a
oh, I
brawl.
need to be careful, hold on. One of the things you need to be, you know, aware of is that I am doing a damage test, and good damage sponges are Syndicate. They give you a very good kind of source,
Death
source
is what
or
should have.
whatever you want to call it, of where is my damage at. And that's a, you know, if you're able to really quickly dispatch your Syndicate members, you're able to pretty much do a lot of, not like do everything, but you're able to do a lot of the general mapping, anything like that. Oof. Alright, so we accomplished what we came here to do. We procced him, and it looks like we got killed by a Cyrus-possessed minion. It is what it is. We're on a 5-link and a 5-link, and we don't have, like, crazy gear. So, now for the real test, we are going to test the damage versus Drux. And after that, that'll wrap up the video. I'm just going to run it regular without running my master mission. Now, you wouldn't think that, you know, using an Azanath's chant would be the be-all end-all for some builds, but for this build specifically, being able to cast, excuse me, your Hydrosphere, your Blood Rage, in this case, my Frostbite and my Sniper's Mark, I have nothing but benefits from having it on. It's 4 spells. Now, when you get later into the build, you can actually apply your normal hexes with other means. Just gonna quickly shoot him.
I watched the nomads passing with great admiration. Its life was brief and without consequence, and its struggle fueled the growth and
We have a
maturation
harvest.
of the wizened and eternal.
Let's quickly look over this.
For a
We have
flash,
upgrades, normal,
I felt the
socket
sadness
link,
I sought in my own youth,
map fragment
and the relief that I
changes,
sought it no longer.
sacrifice div, bestiary.
I'm not
That
up
it?
to that just yet.
Wonders of PlayStation. Rubber band 4 times when you dash. Okay, what does that? Causes to offer additional crafting outcome. Alright. So, I think I've said it in a previous video, but I think Harvest is by far in the worst state it could be. I'm of the same mind as some more popular, you know, names when I say that Harvest was broken. That there's no doubt about it. It was broken. Being able to craft the triple elevated gear and basically making it so the only way you would be able to have quote-unquote good gear in a market is making pure perfect harvest gear. That was not really that cool, you know? I really hate this boss. Alright, so first down is going to be the bear. He's going to do a slam, then it's going to be the tiger, he's going to try and attack me, then it's going to be the wolf, and wolf's dead. Alright. So, as you saw, I was able to literally delete these bosses without any issue. Let's see how we do against Mr. Drax, shall we? We're going to pop all our potions here, so we have max evasion and stuff. Alright, there we go. Now, I want to remind you, Awakener 8 on a 5-link, and I don't have crazy gear. Let's just pop this again, so I have 2 more arrows for my barrage. Step a step or 2 further. And he's dead. obviously with a 6 link on and with better gear as far as my boots, my gloves, changing my amulet to a replica Hiri's Truth so I can reserve so I can use level 22 hatred instead of a level 20 without having to use empower or anything, making it a lot better for me. Plus, as you saw, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 open sockets, which can be used to optimize the build a little more. Now, you can do a whole lot with Ice Shot. There's so much you can do, and a lot of it just has to do with the way you stack the different damages and the way you stack the different penetrates and minus reses, etc., etc. If anyone would like a mid-game to semi-end-game build, which would basically be me using uniques, I won't use anything crafted. I'll use only uniques. And then I'll use awakened gems. I'll use the proper gear I need to use, proper boots, proper gloves, and make it so, you know, just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Feel free to DM me if you know me on PSN or leave a comment on my YouTube, and I will more than gladly make another video showing you and showcasing a build that can do pretty much all content with a unique budget and without using a whole bunch of currency invested and wasting a whole bunch of time. Well, thank you for joining me for this long video. I hope this was informative, and I hope anyone and everyone watching this really takes something from this video and is able to apply that.